They chased perfection, but what they got was something else entirely. From icons who stunned the world with jaw-dropping glow-ups to stars who vanished from Hollywood after one bad cut too many. This is the unfiltered truth behind the most shocking celebrity surgeries of all time. Think Kylie Jenner's billion-dollar lips, Cher's unapologetic reinvention at 79, and Pete Burns' transformation that nearly cost him his life. But it gets deeper, because some of these stars didn't just tweak their image, they changed their entire identity. And one even transitioned, not once, but twice, and is speaking out in 2025. From scalpel to spotlight, fame has a price, and in this video we're showing you every scar, every regret, and every unbelievable comeback. So buckle up, because what you're about to see isn't filtered, face-tuned, or fan-approved. It's the real story behind the world's most dramatic celebrity transformations, and why some would do it all again, while others wish they never had. From comedian to cover girl, how Elliot Page stunned the world post-surgery. Elliot Page's transformation wasn't just physical, it was cultural. Once best known for his Oscar-nominated performance in Juno and dry-witted comedic timing in films like Whip It and Hard Candy, Elliot made global headlines in December 2020 when he came out as transgender. But the real turning point came in 2021 when he revealed his top surgery, a deeply personal step that also had enormous public impact. The first shirtless photo he posted on Instagram wasn't just a flex, it was a declaration. Page looked not only physically transformed, but at ease, smiling, toned, and visibly proud. That single image was reposted by major outlets from Vogue to Vanity Fair, with many hailing it as a cultural milestone. In 2022, he became the first trans man to appear on the cover of Time magazine, opening up about gender dysphoria, Hollywood's pressures, and how surgery saved his life. What followed wasn't just applause, it was a renaissance. He returned to the Umbrella Academy as Victor Hargreaves, a role subtly reimagined to reflect Elliot's real-life identity without reducing it to a plot device. More discerning fans will appreciate that Victor's storyline was informed by input from trans writers and consultants, giving it rare authenticity in a genre often built on masks. By 2025, Page is not just a symbol, he's a working actor, author, Page Boy still sells, and quietly one of the most influential queer voices in entertainment. And that, perhaps, is the real glow-up, a journey from performance to presence, from hiding to living out loud. The plastic surgery that finally made Mickey Rourke unrecognizable. Mickey Rourke was once Hollywood's dark prince of brooding intensity, a heartthrob with a boxer's jaw and a rebel's soul. But by the time he re-emerged in The Wrestler, 2008, audiences were stunned. The chiseled features that made him iconic in 9.5 Weeks and Angel Heart had been replaced by a swollen, surgically altered visage. Rourke never denied it. In fact, he openly admitted that much of the damage stemmed from his brief but brutal boxing career in the 90s, which led to multiple facial fractures. He entrusted his face to what he later called the wrong guy, undergoing several reconstructive surgeries that ultimately left him nearly unrecognizable. What's wild is that by 2025, Mickey has had at least 7 documented facial procedures, including cheekbone implants, nose reconstructions, and lip enhancements. In interviews, he's joked about it, calling his surgeon choices a series of bad fights outside the ring. But it wasn't all vanity. His cheekbones had collapsed from past injuries, and early surgeries were aimed at restoring functionality as much as looks. The problem? Overcorrection. Still, there's something undeniably Rourke about him, even now. He rocks long hair, flamboyant suits, and a devil-may-care attitude that defies Hollywood norms. He continues to work in indie films and international projects, embracing his new look rather than hiding it. And maybe that's the weird magic. Mickey Rourke may not look like he did in 1986, but in a town obsessed with eternal youth, he's somehow become more punk, more unpredictable, and oddly more himself than ever. Demi Moore's face at 62. The internet thought it was AI. When Demi Moore walked the runway at Paris Fashion Week in 2021, jaws dropped, but not necessarily in admiration. Her angular cheeks, taut skin, and almost sculpted appearance sparked a social media firestorm. By 2025, at 62, Moore's face had become a trending topic more than once, with many mistaking recent photos for AI-generated images. The uncanny smoothness of her skin, especially in candid or red carpet appearances, led some fans to ask, is that even real? But Moore, who's long been a fitness and wellness advocate, has largely sidestepped the speculation. Back in the early 2000s, she was one of the first actresses rumored to spend six figures on cosmetic procedures ahead of her Charlie's Angels full-throttle role, though she never confirmed the price tag. Surgeons not associated with her have suggested subtle facelifts, fillers, and possibly buccal fat removal, especially after her mid-2020s appearances suggested a more hollowed facial structure. More discerning fans even broke down side-by-side comparisons between Ghost and Indecent Proposal, trying to decode every microscopic shift in her bone structure. But here's the kicker. Demi has also aged incredibly well through non-surgical means. She swears by yoga, raw veganism, and disciplined skincare. In fact, she once told Harper's Bazaar that her biggest secret was sleep and hydration, a classic Hollywood dodge, but maybe partly true. Whatever she's doing, it's working, because in an age of AI filters and digital illusions, Demi Moore still manages to look like a mystery wrapped in Dior. And love it or not, she's still breaking the internet one wrinkle-free selfie at a time. Caitlyn Jenner at 76, what she now regrets about her transition. At 76, Caitlyn Jenner remains one of the most high-profile transgender figures in the world, but her journey hasn't been without its complexities, and she's been surprisingly candid about the parts she'd do differently. Since publicly coming out in 2015 during that landmark Vanity Fair cover shoot, Call Me Caitlyn, she's undergone facial feminization surgery, breast augmentation, and gender confirmation surgery, all of which she's discussed openly. But as of 2025, Jenner has expressed some emotional and personal regrets, not about transitioning itself, but about the fallout that followed. In recent interviews, including a frank 2023 sit-down with The Times, Caitlyn admitted that her relationship with the broader LGBTQ+ community became strained. She faced criticism for her conservative political views, particularly during her brief 2021 gubernatorial run in California, which led some trans activists to distance themselves from her. I wish I had taken more time to listen, she said, reflecting on the backlash. On a personal level, she has spoken about loneliness after transition. Though she's remained close to some of her children, including Brandon and Bert, others, like the Kardashian clan, have appeared more distant in recent years. Jenner admitted that fame sometimes got in the way of truly healing. Still, there's no denying her impact. The I Am Kate docuseries broke barriers, and she was honored with the Arthur Ashe Courage Award in 2015. But as she often reminds people now, transitioning didn't solve everything. It's not the surgeries she regrets, it's the missed connections and the moments she wishes she'd approached with more humility and less spotlight. Kenny Rogers couldn't smile anymore, and fans noticed. By the time Kenny Rogers took his final bow in 2020, fans weren't just mourning his music, they were still buzzing about his appearance. The gravel-voiced legend who gave the world The Gambler and Lucille had, in his later years, undergone such drastic plastic surgery that even his own expressions seemed to vanish. By 2025, the legacy of those procedures remains a topic of discussion in cosmetic cautionary tales. Rogers never denied it. In fact, he spoke openly about the changes, admitting on CBS's This Morning that he regretted getting his eyelids done. They made me look differently than I ever intended, he confessed, adding that he had wanted to stay youthful for his wife and career, but it backfired. The once warm, squinting eyes that made his duets with Dolly Parton so endearing were replaced by a permanently wide-eyed stare. Facial fillers and possible lifts left his cheeks unusually smooth, and by the late 2000s, even smiling appeared strained. Fans noticed. Some thought it was health-related. Others just missed the old Kenny. Interestingly, he still sang beautifully and maintained his iconic voice almost to the end, but his visual presence was diminished. What makes it even more tragic is that Rogers had been considered one of the more ruggedly handsome stars of his genre in the 70s and 80s. His aging process had been kind until the surgeries began. In hindsight, his story is a quiet reminder. The pressure to preserve youth in showbiz can erase the very features that made someone beloved in the first place. Janice Dickinson said she was the original supermodel. Then came the surgeries. Janice Dickinson wasn't shy about her place in fashion history. She famously dubbed herself the world's first supermodel, and while that claim sparked debate, after all, Twiggy and Gia Caranci came earlier, there's no denying Dickinson helped define the fierce, unapologetic modeling era of the late 70s and 80s. But as the decades passed and cameras grew crueler in high definition, Janice's obsession with preserving her looks became just as legendary as her modeling career. By the 2000s, she had undergone a cascade of procedures: facelifts, brow lifts, lip fillers, Botox, breast augmentations, and more, most of which she admitted to on The Surreal Life and Botched. By 2025, at age 70, Dickinson's face conveys survival, vanity, and resilience. In interviews, she's joked about her surgeries but also expressed regret, especially about chasing perfection in a youth-obsessed industry. Her appearance has fluctuated wildly over the years. At times her lips appeared overfilled. At others her brows looked frozen mid-surprise. Yet through it all, she never lost her bite. She called out the hypocrisy of ageism while still submitting to its pressure. Fans from America's Next Top Model remember her scathing critiques, but many also remember her emotional confessions about low self-esteem. What's striking is that Janice has never truly vanished. She continues to appear at fashion events, red carpets, and even reality shows, proving she still owns her narrative. If beauty is pain, Dickinson wore the crown, but these days she wears it with more candor than contour. Simon Cowell's face in 2025. Fans ask, what happened? By 2025, Simon Cowell's face will have become nearly as talked about as his brutal one-liners. Once the famously unfiltered judge of American Idol, The X Factor, and Britain's Got Talent, Cowell is now just as famous for a jawline that looks carved from marble and eyes that rarely seem to move. The transformation began subtly in the mid-2010s, slight lifts, smoother skin, but escalated dramatically in the early 2020s. By 2022, fans were doing double takes. Was it Botox, fillers, a full-on lift? Cowell finally addressed the speculation himself in 2023, admitting he had gone a bit too far with cosmetic tweaks and had most of his fillers dissolved. The irony? This is the same man who once said he liked getting older and didn't care about looking young. But after a 2020 e-bike accident left him with a broken back, Cowell reportedly became more self-conscious. Rebuilding his physique also meant reimagining his appearance. The ultra-smooth forehead, the oddly plumped cheeks, and a grin that now looks slightly off-center all fed the online rumor mill. And yet Simon remains fully booked. He still produces global talent shows and, as of late 2025, is launching a new streaming competition series. His voice, his business mind, and his unapologetic delivery are all intact. But his changing face? It's become a meme, a mystery, and a metaphor for the pressure men now feel in Hollywood to preserve youth just as fiercely as women. Cowell once judged others by appearances. Now the internet's judging him. Pete Burns spent nearly $500,000, and it almost killed him. Pete Burns wasn't just the flamboyant frontman of Dead or Alive. He was a walking, glitter-drenched contradiction. Best known for the 1985 hit You Spin Me Round, Like a Record, Burns became equally infamous for his dramatic physical transformation. By the early 2000s, he had undergone numerous cosmetic procedures that his original features were virtually unrecognizable. As of his passing in 2016, it was reported that he spent close to $500,000 on plastic surgery, an obsession that spiraled into medical catastrophe. And by 2025, his legacy stands as both dazzling and cautionary. Burns initially began with minor enhancements, but after a botched lip procedure in the late 90s, things took a dark turn. He developed a severe infection from faulty polyacrylamide injections that required over 300 reconstructive operations to fix. In a chilling This Morning interview, he admitted, My face is in the hands of the NHS and God. At one point, doctors told him he could die if he continued, but he didn't stop. He pursued cheek implants, rhinoplasties, and extensive facial fillers, reshaping himself into what he once described as a blank canvas. Still, Pete never apologized for his choices. He viewed beauty as fluid, identity as performance, and himself as living art. But the toll was visible. In later years, his health declined and financial woes followed. Burns died of cardiac arrest at just 57. In 2025, he remains a queer icon, but also a reminder that behind the glam and glitter of transformation lies a body that doesn't always survive the fantasy. Renee Zellweger vanished, then reappeared looking like someone else. When Renee Zellweger stepped onto the red carpet at the 2014 Elle Women in Hollywood event, the internet imploded. The actress who charmed millions as Bridget Jones looked dramatically different. Sleeker eyes, a narrower face, and some claimed a complete identity shift. Headlines didn't hold back. Within hours, Twitter was flooded with comparisons and conspiracy theories, with some even questioning whether it was really her. By 2025, the moment remains one of Hollywood's most notorious before and after debates. But the truth, as always, is more nuanced. Zellweger hadn't just altered her appearance, she'd taken a step back from the industry altogether. After years in the spotlight and back-to-back roles in the 2000s, she paused her career around 2010, citing exhaustion and burnout. During that time, she focused on personal wellness, moved away from Hollywood, and returned not just refreshed, but physically transformed. The buzz around cosmetic work became so intense that Renee penned a powerful op-ed in the Huffington Post in 2016, calling out the public obsession with female aging and defending her right to look different. She never confirmed specific surgeries, but experts speculated on eyelid lifts, Botox, and subtle contouring. Then came the comeback. Her role as Judy Garland in Judy, 2019, won her an Oscar, silencing critics and proving her acting chops hadn't changed, just her features. Today, Zellweger is still working, still graceful, and no longer addressing the noise. In a town obsessed with looking the same, she dared to change and reminded us why faces don't win awards, performances do. Carrot Top's Muscle Face Makeover, Comedy or Horror? Scott Carrot Top Thompson was never known for subtlety. With his flaming red hair, wild-eyed expressions, and prop comedy chaos, he built a Vegas empire on being over the top. But sometime in the mid-2000s, fans noticed something that had nothing to do with punchlines. Carrot Top's face was changing fast. By 2025, his transformation will still be one of the most debated in the world of celebrity plastic surgery. Gone was the rubbery goofball look. In its place was a chiseled jaw, exaggerated cheekbones, and a brow that looked like it was trying to escape his forehead. And then there were the muscles. At one point, Carrot Top was so bulked up, he looked more WWE than comedy. Despite extensive online speculation, Carrot Top has denied going under the knife, attributing his new look to aging, working out, and a clean lifestyle. But experts and fans aren't convinced. Surgeons not affiliated with him have pointed to likely Botox use, fillers, possible eyelid work, and even jawline enhancements. His face, once flexible and expressive, now often appears tight, with a waxy sheen that makes even his grins seem rehearsed. Still, he leans into it. On late-night shows and in stand-up sets, Carrot Top has openly mocked his look, joking, "I didn't get surgery, I got attacked by bees." And honestly, the self-awareness kind of works. In 2025, he's still selling out shows in Las Vegas, still doing interviews, and still confusing people who can't decide if he looks like a superhero or a wax figure. Either way, he's laughing probably all the way to the bank. Lil' Kim's new look left even her fans speechless. Lil' Kim was once the face of unapologetic hip-hop femininity, edgy, bold, and dripping in Chanel before it was a red carpet cliché. But by the mid-2010s, fans began noticing something shocking. Her appearance was changing so dramatically that even longtime followers struggled to recognize her. By 2025, the transformation will still be jaw-dropping. From skin tone to facial structure, Little Kim's look has sparked more speculation than almost any artist of her era. Her once rounded face now features ultra-defined cheekbones, a narrow nose, plump lips, and an overall polished, smooth finish that suggests extensive cosmetic work. Though she's never publicly confirmed the full extent of the procedures, Kim has admitted in past interviews to having had a nose job after suffering an abusive relationship that left her with a broken nose, a fact often overlooked in the conversation about her looks. Still, many plastic surgeons not affiliated with her speculate she's had multiple rhinoplasties, cheek implants, skin lightening, and fillers over the years. The contrast between her hardcore era and her present-day image is so stark that fans online often ask, what happened to the Queen Bee? Despite the critiques, Little Kim remains iconic. She was honored at the BET Awards, performed at major festivals in 2024, and continues to influence fashion, rap, and beauty culture. And while her appearance may have shocked fans, her confidence hasn't wavered. In a world quick to judge women, especially black women, for aging, evolving, or altering themselves, Kim remains fiercely herself. That, above all, may be her boldest look yet. Tara Reid admitted it, the plastic surgery that cost her Hollywood. Tara Reid was once on the fast track to becoming America's sweetheart. From American Pie to Van Wilder, she had the bubbly charm, the party girl image, and the early 2000s it girl glow. But by the mid-2000s, her career stalled, and her appearance began making more headlines than her roles. In a rare move for Hollywood, Reid eventually admitted that plastic surgery had derailed her momentum. By 2025, her story stands as a stark warning in an industry obsessed with beauty, but unforgiving about its pursuit. It all started with a 2004 breast augmentation and liposuction combo that went publicly and painfully wrong. The procedures left her with rippling skin around her stomach and uneven scarring, which paparazzi seized upon during a red carpet wardrobe malfunction. Reid described it bluntly years later. My stomach became the most ripply, bulgy thing. Her botched results were plastered across tabloid covers, transforming her image from rising starlet to Hollywood punchline overnight. Reid's candid appearance on The Doctors in 2008 brought the truth to light, where she revealed that she had undergone corrective surgeries after the initial mishaps. But by then, casting directors had moved on, and roles became scarcer. She later achieved cult fame in Sharknado, but never regained her earlier stardom. Now 49, Tara occasionally appears on reality TV and in independent projects. She speaks more openly about the toll of fame and the price of chasing perfection too early. In the end, it wasn't just the surgeries, it was Hollywood's brutal memory of them that truly left the scar. Bruce Jenner to Caitlyn, the moment the world changed forever. When Bruce Jenner reintroduced herself to the world as Caitlyn Jenner on the cover of Vanity Fair in June 2015, it wasn't just a personal milestone, it was a global, cultural shift. The image, shot by Annie Leibovitz, bore the headline, Call Me Caitlyn, and within hours it became one of the most viewed and talked about reveals in Internet history. Jenner, once an Olympic decathlete idolized for her 1976 gold medal win, had transformed in the public eye into the world's most famous transgender woman. By 2025, that moment still stands as one of the most iconic media events of the 21st century. Caitlyn underwent extensive facial feminization surgery, breast augmentation, and hormone therapy before her public debut, all of which she discussed in detail in her memoir, The Secrets of My Life. The transformation was not only physical, it came with immense emotional weight. Jenner's journey was chronicled in the reality series I Am Kate, which offered a deeply personal look at transitioning under a global spotlight. But it wasn't all applause. While she was celebrated for bravery, she also faced fierce criticism from within and beyond the LGBTQ+ community, especially for her conservative political stances and public missteps. Yet the significance of her coming out couldn't be erased. In a media landscape where trans visibility was still emerging, Caitlyn's bold entrance forced millions to confront gender identity in a new way. Whether you agree with her politics or not, the truth is undeniable. When Bruce became Caitlin, the world stopped and something irreversible began. Dog the Bounty Hunter is no more. See his incredible transformation. Dwayne Dog Chapman built his fame on grit, grit, and more grit. With his golden mullet, wraparound sunglasses, and leather vests, he was the walking embodiment of 90s reality TV chaos. But by 2025, the man once known as Dog the Bounty Hunter had transformed so profoundly that fans now barely recognize him, not just physically, but in lifestyle, attitude, and public image. After decades of chasing fugitives and tabloid headlines, Dog has traded in the chase for something closer to peace. His transformation began following a personal tragedy. The 2019 death of his wife, Beth Chapman, devastated him and sparked a slow unraveling. He ballooned in weight, suffered health scares, including a pulmonary embolism, and slipped into deep depression. But it was his 2021 marriage to Francie Fran, a Colorado rancher, that marked the actual turning point. With her support, Dog began overhauling his life. He cut back on excessive tanning, slimmed down noticeably, and even trimmed the infamous mullet. By 2024, he looked like a rugged version of himself, less bounty hunter, more retired outlaw with a story to tell. He has since left bounty hunting entirely, shifting to Christian ministry and motivational speaking. In recent interviews, he has discussed faith and forgiveness more than felonies. He has also appeared in documentaries on grief and recovery, reframing his once aggressive persona. In 2025, Dog the Bounty Hunter is gone, but Dwayne Chapman remains, walking a very different path. It's not just a makeover, it's a redemption arc no one saw coming. Meg Ryan's new look sparked a decade of tabloid frenzy. Meg Ryan was once America's rom-com sweetheart, the breezy, bright-eyed star who made When Harry Met Sally and You've Got Mail eternal comfort watches. But by the mid-2000s, the headlines weren't about her performances, they were about her face. Her sudden appearance change around 2015 sparked a tabloid firestorm that hasn't thoroughly cooled by 2025. With noticeably plumped cheeks, tightened skin, and what many speculated were fillers, Botox, or even a facelift, Ryan's natural charm seemed replaced by a look that critics called frozen or too smooth to be real. Although Meg has not confirmed specifics, experts not affiliated with her have long suggested mid-face volumization, lip enhancement, and possible rhinoplasty. Fans who had grown up watching her laugh and cry on screen felt a kind of betrayal, not because she aged, but because they struggled to recognize her. The scrutiny was relentless. Online forums, gossip blogs, and even late-night jokes dissected every red carpet photo. But Meg didn't play along. She largely disappeared from the spotlight, avoiding interviews and roles, and choosing privacy over PR. Her 2023 reappearance at the screening of her directorial project, What Happens Later, reignited the debate, but this time something had shifted. She looked more relaxed, natural, even a bit weathered, in the best way. In recent years, she's spoken briefly about the industry's cruelty toward aging actresses, noting that her break was less about surgery and more about sanity. Today, Meg Ryan's legacy isn't her look. It's her refusal to explain herself in a world that always demanded she smile on cue. Jennifer Grey was a star until a nose job changed everything. Jennifer Grey had the kind of breakout moment most actors only dream of. As Baby in Dirty Dancing, 1987, she didn't just steal the spotlight. She became a cultural icon. But what came next remains one of Hollywood's most infamous cautionary tales. In the early 90s, Grey underwent a rhinoplasty that dramatically altered her appearance. By 2025, it's still widely cited as the nose job that erased a celebrity. The surgery was technically successful, but its impact on her career was devastating. Fans, casting directors, even close colleagues barely recognized her afterwards. In her own words, "I went into the operating room a celebrity and came out anonymous." Grey didn't deny it. In fact, she tackled it head-on in her 2022 memoir, Out of the Corner, revealing the personal and professional fallout. The decision wasn't entirely cosmetic. She'd been told repeatedly by agents and producers that her prominent nose might hold her back from leading lady roles. Ironically, it was that very feature that made her so distinctive and beloved in the first place. Despite a few TV roles and guest appearances through the 2000s, Grey never regained the momentum of her Dirty Dancing days. She found a brief resurgence with a Dancing with the Stars win in 2010. She more recently voiced support for aging naturally in Hollywood, acknowledging the long-term regrets of altering her signature look. Today, Jennifer Grey is more self-assured than ever, but her story endures as a striking reminder that, in an industry obsessed with reinvention, what makes you memorable can vanish with a single cut. The truth about Madonna's face, and why even she's joking about it. Few stars have evolved under the spotlight quite like Madonna. But in 2023, when she appeared at the Grammy Awards with dramatically altered facial features, puffed cheeks, glassy skin, and a tensioned jawline, the internet erupted. The queen of reinvention was nearly unrecognizable, and speculation flew. Was it fillers? A facelift? Too much Botox? By 2025, her face remains one of the most analyzed and memed in celebrity culture. Yet what's remarkable isn't just how she looked, but how she responded. Within days of the viral outcry, Madonna clapped back. On Instagram, she posted a selfie with the caption, "Look how cute I am now that swelling from surgery has gone down." It was one of the rare times she addressed the speculation directly. Fans appreciated the honesty, if not the results. Still, the critiques kept coming. Doctors not affiliated with her cited likely overuse of dermal fillers and potential facial sculpting, particularly around the cheeks and temples. What's fascinating is that this wasn't Madonna's first cosmetic controversy. As early as the 2000s, subtle shifts in her face had been the subject of whispers. But the 2023 moment stood out because it seemed to mark a tipping point when reinvention clashed with recognition. Despite it all, she's still packing stadiums on her celebration tour, still dancing in her 60s, and still dominating headlines. She may poke fun at herself, but she never apologizes. In a culture where aging is taboo, Madonna's face isn't just a canvas, it's a battleground, and she's not done fighting. Dolly Parton's cosmetic journey, and why she's proud of every inch. Dolly Parton has never denied going under the knife. In fact, she practically trademarked the look. Long before celebrity surgery was casually dissected on TikTok or red carpets, Dolly was openly tweaking her image with gleeful honesty. By 2025, at 79 years old, she's had decades of procedures, from facelifts and breast augmentations to eyelid lifts, Botox, and lip fillers, but she's made no secret of it. "It takes a lot of money to look this cheap," she famously quipped, a line so beloved it's been printed on mugs, T-shirts, and even needlepoint pillows. Parton's approach to cosmetic work has always been refreshingly self-aware. She's admitted to getting work done everywhere it can be pulled or tucked, but not because she's insecure. Instead, it's part of her larger philosophy of self-expression and fantasy. Her style is performance art, wrapped in rhinestones and acrylic nails. And yet, beneath the wigs and sequins, she's remarkably grounded. In interviews, she's said, "If something's bagging, sagging, or dragging, I'll tuck it, suck it, or pluck it." Doctors unaffiliated with her estimate she's had at least a dozen minor cosmetic procedures over the decades, yet Dolly never aimed for realism. Her face, tight, glowing, unmistakable, has become as iconic as her voice. Unlike many celebrities who dodged the subject, Dolly embraces it, making her not just a music legend, but a beauty trailblazer. In a world that shames women for both aging and altering, Dolly Parton stands tall, perfectly contoured and utterly unapologetic. She's not chasing youth, she's sculpting a legacy with a scalpel and a wink. Donatella Versace's face became more famous than her fashion. Donatella Versace built an empire on boldness, metallics, plunging gowns, and unapologetic glamour. But by the 2010s, it wasn't just the Versace name turning heads, it was her face. By 2025, at 70, Donatella's ultra-sculpted look has sparked more speculation than any collection she's ever designed. With taut skin, high-gloss lips, and razor-sharp cheekbones, her appearance has taken on an almost mythic quality, part icon, part enigma. And while she's never publicly detailed her procedures, plastic surgeons not affiliated with her suspect a long list: multiple facelifts, Botox, cheek implants, fillers, lip augmentations, and likely skin resurfacing. The transformation wasn't overnight. In the early 2000s, subtle changes raised eyebrows. But after the 2006 Met Gala, her ultra-defined jawline and increasingly tight expressions became a regular topic in fashion blogs and tabloids alike. Still, Donatella remained famously unfazed. Her response? "I don't like natural looks. I don't like natural beauty." It wasn't a confession. It was a manifesto. Interestingly, her exaggerated aesthetic mirrors her brand's identity: larger than life, unapologetically maximalist, and designed to stand out. While some critics have accused her of losing the softness and elegance of her earlier years, others see her as a symbol of defiance, especially in a male-dominated industry where aging women are quietly erased. In recent interviews, Donatella has downplayed the obsession with her face, redirecting attention to Versace's success. Yet ironically, her appearance has become its own form of branding. In 2025, her legacy isn't just stitched into fabric, it's etched in marble, Botox, and a refusal to fade into the background. Mickey Rourke's boxing scars and surgeries, the real story behind the change. Long before his face became tabloid fodder, Mickey Rourke was Hollywood's brooding golden boy, equal parts danger and charm in films like 9½ Weeks, The Pope of Greenwich Village, and Angel Heart. But by the mid-1990s, he walked away from it all and entered the brutal world of professional boxing. That choice didn't just batter his body, it reshaped his face. By 2025, the story of Mickey Rourke's transformation has become a textbook example of how physical trauma, not just vanity, can fuel extreme cosmetic surgery. Rourke fought 8 official matches between 1991 and 1994, winning most but sustaining damage. He suffered a broken nose more than once, a shattered cheekbone, and compressed facial cartilage. He later admitted in interviews, including a revealing 2009 sit-down with the Daily Mail, that his face was a mess and required reconstructive work. But he also confessed, "I went to the wrong guy to put my face back together." The result? A series of surgeries left his once boyish charm nearly unrecognizable. By the 2000s, he was plagued with swelling, asymmetry, and surgical scarring. Though fans were shocked, he leaned into his new look with defiant style, leather coats, long hair, and a don't-care attitude. Ironically, it was this battle-worn face that helped land him the role of a lifetime in The Wrestler, 2008, earning him an Oscar nomination. In 2025, he's still acting, still swinging, this time on indie film sets instead of in rings. Mickey didn't just survive the hits, he built a new persona from the ruins. Courteney Cox admitted it. "I went too far, then had to reverse it." Courteney Cox spent a decade as Monica Geller, neurotic, hilarious, and beloved on Friends, one of the most iconic sitcoms of all time. But after the show ended in 2004, her appearance began to shift subtly. By the early 2010s, fans noticed her face growing tighter, plumper, and, as some put it, un-Monica-like. The woman once known for expressive charm now had a face that barely moved. By 2025, Cox's story will have become a rare tale in Hollywood, not just of cosmetic change, but of conscious reversal. In a candid 2017 interview with New Beauty, Cox admitted, "I've had all my fillers dissolved." She confessed to trying to chase youth piece by piece until she no longer looked like herself. You don't realize it because it happens gradually, and then you go, "Oh, this doesn't look right." The confession made headlines not for its shock value, but for its rarity. An A-lister admitting regret? Almost unheard of. Experts not affiliated with her estimate she had undergone multiple rounds of dermal fillers, Botox, and perhaps minor lifts. Still, the fillers distorted her natural features the most. By 2020, she had fully embraced a more natural look, earning praise for aging on her terms. In 2023, she reprised her Scream role with a more familiar, expressive face, and fans noticed. Now, at 61, Cox has become a quiet advocate for moderation in cosmetic work. Her lesson is clear. The best version of yourself might be the one you used to recognize. Kylie Jenner built an empire on lip fillers, then had them dissolved. Kylie Jenner was just 17 when the world first noticed her lips had changed. In 2015, after months of dodging speculation, she finally admitted what fans already suspected. Yes, she had lip fillers. That moment didn't just fuel headlines, it launched a beauty empire. By 2025, Kylie Cosmetics is worth over $1 billion, and its flagship product? Lip kits. The irony is almost cinematic. The same fillers that built her brand were later the ones she chose to remove. Kylie has never shied away from her cosmetic choices. She revealed on Life of Kylie that insecurities sparked her decision after a teenage boy once commented on her small lips. The transformation was instant and viral. Her signature pout became one of the most imitated beauty looks worldwide, spawning makeup trends, influencer tutorials, and copycat brands. But by 2018, she stunned fans by dissolving her fillers, citing a desire for a more natural look. It wasn't the end. She later returned to subtle enhancements, but it marked a turning point in her relationship with cosmetic work. In a 2023 Homegirls interview, she reflected on how beauty standards had warped even her own perception. I look back at pictures of myself when I was younger, and I see beauty. In 2025, Kylie's look is far more refined, still glam, still enhanced, but less extreme. She now openly discusses cosmetic procedures with a tone that's less about perfection and more about balance. The lips built the brand, but dissolving them may have reclaimed the girl behind it. Blac Chyna reversed nearly everything, and fans applauded. Once synonymous with exaggerated curves, dramatic fillers, and bold aesthetics, Blac Chyna shocked the internet in 2023 by doing what few in Hollywood dare. She reversed it all. The former reality star and influencer, born Angela White, began a highly public and deeply personal journey to remove nearly every cosmetic enhancement she'd once proudly flaunted. By 2025, her transformation is widely seen as one of the most transparent and applauded makeovers in modern celebrity culture. Chyna began with dissolving her facial fillers and reversing her breast and buttocks augmentations, procedures she documented step by step on Instagram and YouTube. It's time for a change, she explained, revealing that she wanted to reclaim her natural beauty and detach from the extreme image she'd built over a decade. What followed was a wave of praise from fans, the media, and even medical professionals who saw it as a rare act of vulnerability in an industry built on illusion. She didn't stop there. Angela also removed a controversial Baphomet tattoo, embraced a new, more modest style, and began using her birth name in public. Her interviews shifted from gossip to growth, discussing faith, sobriety, motherhood, and self-worth. On The Jason Lee Show and other platforms, she emphasized her desire to be a better role model for her children and herself. Now 37, she appears more grounded and confident than ever. Blac Chyna may have dominated headlines with enhancements, but Angela White is rewriting the narrative, one procedure at a time. In 2025, authenticity is her brand, and for once, Hollywood is clapping for less. Heidi Montag's 10 surgeries in one day, and what it did to her career. In 2010, Heidi Montag made reality TV history, but not for anything she did on The Hills. At just 23 years old, she underwent 10 plastic surgeries in a single day, a decision that stunned the public and defined her career for years to come. By 2025, that day remains one of the most extreme examples of elective cosmetic transformation in celebrity culture. The procedures included a mini brow lift, chin reduction, nose revision, breast augmentation to a staggering F-cup, fat injections, liposuction, and more, performed by the late Dr. Frank Ryan. "I was really just trying to feel better," she later said, "but I ended up almost losing everything." Heidi revealed that the recovery was brutal. She was in so much pain, she feared for her life, and at one point believed she might not survive. While the surgeries briefly made headlines, they also stalled her already fragile career. Casting directors became hesitant, her music career faltered, and the focus on her appearance often overshadowed her work. Even fans who had followed her rise on MTV were left shocked by the transformation. Years later, she publicly expressed regret. In a 2021 People interview, she admitted she didn't fully understand the risks and long-term consequences at the time. "I just wanted to be perfect," she said. Now in her late 30s, Heidi has scaled back, physically and professionally. She's embraced a quieter life with her husband, Spencer Pratt, and their children. In hindsight, her surgeries became more cautionary tale than a success story, and in 2025, that story still resonates. Farrah Abraham's face is trending, but not for the right reasons. Farrah Abraham's journey from teen mom reality star to tabloid regular has been anything but subtle. But in 2025, it's her face, not her headlines, that's stirring the loudest reaction. Once the fresh-faced all-American teen navigating young motherhood on MTV, Farrah now appears with dramatically altered features, plumped lips, a sharply contoured jawline, and brows seemingly frozen mid-surprise. Fans have long speculated about her evolving appearance, but recent photos and videos have reignited concern, not admiration. Over the years, Farrah has confirmed multiple cosmetic procedures, including rhinoplasty, chin implants, lip injections, and several rounds of Botox and facial fillers. In 2020, she told In Touch that she believed in preventative beauty, but by 2023, even fans who once supported her aesthetic choices began to wonder if it had gone too far. Side-by-side comparisons from her early TV days to her current social media presence show a transformation so extreme that many question whether it's even the same person. What's especially striking is how much of the change has unfolded in real time. Farrah often live streams visits to med spas and posts post-procedure updates with little filter, literally or figuratively. While this openness might seem empowering, it's also drawing criticism from experts who worry about the normalization of excessive cosmetic work, particularly among young audiences. Despite the backlash, Farrah remains unfazed. She continues to promote beauty products and adult content platforms and has even hinted at new reality projects in 2025. But whether she sees it or not, her face has become a conversation, less about beauty and more about the blurred line between reinvention and distortion. Axl Rose and the mystery of the puffy face. Axl Rose was once the face of rock rebellion, lean, wild-eyed, and untouchable as the frontman of Guns N' Roses. But by the mid-2010s, fans began asking a very different question. What happened to his face? The angular cheekbones and wiry frame that helped define the band's early MTV image had been replaced by a fuller, noticeably swollen appearance. By 2025, the puffy face mystery remains one of rock's most enduring visual puzzles, with theories ranging from routine aging and weight gain to cosmetic surgery and health-related swelling. Axl has never publicly confirmed undergoing any plastic surgery, but over the years, paparazzi shots and on-stage photos have fueled speculation about possible fillers, eyelid work, or even a facelift gone wrong. Some fans blame steroids, possibly prescribed for chronic pain or inflammation, especially after the band's grueling Not in This Lifetime reunion tour, which began in 2016 and stretched into the early 2020s. Adding to the confusion is Axl's tendency to vanish from the public eye for long periods, only to re-emerge with a new look, sometimes slimmer, sometimes puffier. Interviews remain rare, and he's tight-lipped on personal topics, keeping the rumor mill churning. Still, Rose continues to perform, and despite internet snark, his voice, though weathered, holds its power. In 2022, he even filled in for AC/DC, proving his rock credentials remained solid. But in 2025, Axl's ever-changing appearance continues to spark conversation, and in classic Axl fashion, he's never explained a thing. Lets the mystery and the music do the talking. Joan Rivers was open about it, but even she had limits. Joan Rivers never lied about plastic surgery. In fact, she turned it into punchlines. By the time she passed in 2014, she had undergone well over 300 procedures by her own count, and her honesty about it was as fierce as her comedy. "I wish I had a twin so I could see what I looked like without plastic surgery," she once joked. But by 2025, with a decade's distance, Joan's story stands not just as a trailblazing tale of cosmetic openness, but also a surprisingly nuanced look at restraint in excess. Although Joan had facelifts, nose jobs, liposuction, Botox, eyelid surgeries, and even vocal cord tightening, she reportedly drew the line at specific procedures. According to her daughter, Melissa Rivers, Joan refused to touch her hands. She said they would always tell the truth. She also turned down full-body procedures later in life, citing complications and downtime. In a rare, profound moment during her Joan Knows Best, in a reality show, she admitted the surgeries were partly about control. "If I can fix it, why not?" Critics claimed she was promoting unrealistic beauty standards, but Joan always countered that she wasn't hiding anything. She used her face and her body as extensions of her act, sculpting herself into a living caricature with deliberate precision. And yet, for all the scalpel work, her wit remained the sharpest blade. In 2025, Joan is remembered as a comedy legend, but also as someone who rewrote the script on aging in Hollywood. Her face was her canvas, but her limits? That was her punchline and her truth. LaToya Jackson's ever-changing look. Michael wasn't the only one. While Michael Jackson's physical transformation captivated and often shocked the world, his sister LaToya's journey through cosmetic surgery unfolded more quietly but no less dramatically. By 2025, her face tells a parallel story, a mirror of the same family pressures, beauty ideals, and relentless spotlight that shaped so many Jacksons. LaToya's appearance began changing in the late 80s, just as she was carving out her own pop persona. Her once soft features evolved into sharper angles, a slimmer nose, and higher cheekbones, alterations that sparked decades of speculation. Though LaToya has never fully outlined the procedures she's undergone, comparisons over the years reveal striking shifts. Surgeons not affiliated with her have pointed to possible rhinoplasties, brow lifts, fillers, and likely skin bleaching, echoing changes seen in her late brother. What fueled it? In interviews, she's spoken candidly about childhood trauma, controlled by her former manager and abusive ex-husband, Jack Gordon, and the crushing expectation to maintain a marketable image. Beauty, for LaToya, was never just about vanity, it was survival. By the early 2000s, her increasingly porcelain-like skin and near-expressionless features drew concern from fans, and yet she never disappeared. From reality TV to the Masked Singer stage, she kept reinventing herself, consistently with a mysterious poise that both invited curiosity and deflected it. Today at 69, LaToya continues to make select appearances, her look still evolving. But beneath the changing surface lies an intensely private woman shaped by fame, family, and the scalpel's promise to fix what fame often breaks. Barry Manilow's face at 80, what changed and what didn't. Barry Manilow may have written the songs that made the whole world sing, but by 2025, now 80 years old, it's his face, not just his melodies, that's sparking conversation. The man behind classics like Mandy and Copacabana has long battled rumors of cosmetic enhancement. While he's always kept a playful distance from the speculation, the results are hard to miss. Over the past 2 decades, his features have become noticeably smoother, tighter, and more sculpted, so much so that, at times, fans joked he looked more wax figure than music legend. Manilow has historically denied undergoing plastic surgery, once telling The Telegraph that he had surgery to remove cysts caused by a freak accident. Still, surgeons unaffiliated with him have long pointed to signs of likely facelifts, eyelid surgeries, and extensive Botox. His eyebrows arch with surgical precision, and his jawline remains improbably firm, features not typically preserved by time alone. Yet despite all the chatter, what hasn't changed is Barry's enduring charm. His Las Vegas residencies continue to draw crowds, and in recent interviews, he's leaned into self-deprecating humor, often dodging cosmetic questions with a grin. "This is the best face money can buy," he once joked. Beyond aesthetics, Manilow made headlines in 2017 for publicly coming out after years of keeping his relationship private. That moment of vulnerability seemed to overshadow years of artificiality, reminding fans that behind the smooth skin and stage lights stood a real person. At 80, his face may be filtered, but his legacy? Unshakably authentic. Amanda Lepore's look took 20 years and millions of dollars. Amanda Lepore isn't just a model or nightlife icon. She's a living sculpture meticulously crafted over decades. By 2025, her face is instantly recognizable: inflated lips, arched brows, a pinched nose, and skin pulled so taut it seems to glow. But none of this was accidental. Amanda has long been open about her transformation, famously saying, "Plastic surgery is the art form I chose." And what an art project it's been. Her look, equal parts Jessica Rabbit, Warhol fantasy, and futuristic pinup, reportedly cost over $1 million and took more than 20 years to complete. Born Armand Lepore in New Jersey, she began transitioning as a teenager, undergoing gender-affirming surgery in her early 20s. From there, the enhancements kept coming: multiple rhinoplasties to achieve a hyper-feminine profile, forehead lifts, breast augmentations, rib removal, silicone injections, and custom lip procedures to achieve her signature exaggerated pout. Far from hiding it, she's turned her body into a brand, an aesthetic monument to excess and reinvention. Lepore's impact stretches beyond looks. As a fixture of New York's club scene and muse to photographers like David LaChapelle, she helped define a particular era of unapologetic, high-glam queerness. She's appeared in music videos, walked runways, and published a memoir, Doll Parts, in which she discusses the pain, joy, and obsession behind her metamorphosis. Now in her 50s, Amanda still appears flawless, but by her own hyper-stylized standard. In a world that often whispers about surgery, she shouts it in sequins and stilettos. Amanda didn't chase conventional beauty. She designed a world where she was the prototype. Cher's secret? Surgery, and she's never denied it. Cher has never been one to play by the rules, musically, romantically, or aesthetically. With a career spanning 6 decades, she's reinvented herself more times than most stars have changed stylists. But by 2025, at 79, one thing remains consistent: her jaw-dropping ability to defy time. The cheekbones, the impossibly smooth skin, the arched brows. Fans have long speculated about how she maintains such ageless allure. The answer? Surgery. And unlike most celebrities, Cher has never pretended otherwise. She famously quipped, "If I want to put my breast on my back, it's nobody's business but my own." Over the years, she's admitted to having a rhinoplasty early in her career, as well as dental work and breast augmentation. Surgeons not affiliated with her have pointed to likely facelifts, eyelid surgery, fillers, and Botox, but with such polished execution, it becomes the gold standard of celebrity enhancement. Unlike many who went too far, Cher somehow struck a balance between transformation and recognizability. Her physical maintenance isn't just vanity, it's part of the brand. From Bob Mackie gowns to holographic tours, her look has always been part of the performance. In fact, during her 2023 Cherlato promo campaign, she joked, "Yes, I still look like this, and yes, I still don't sleep in pajamas." Even in 2025, Cher continues to work, sing, and trend set. Her surgeries aren't secrets, they're strategy. In a culture where age is whispered and surgery denied, Cher's honesty remains one of her boldest and most beautiful moves. Plastic surgery nearly ended Priscilla Presley's career. Here's how. Priscilla Presley has always been a symbol of poised beauty, first as Elvis Presley's famously elegant wife, then as an actress in Dallas and the Naked Gun films. But by the early 2000s, her appearance began to change in ways that alarmed fans and professionals alike. By 2025, the story of her cosmetic transformation stands as one of Hollywood's most unsettling cautionary tales, not because of vanity, but because of betrayal. In 2003, Presley was one of several victims injected with industrial-grade silicone by a bogus doctor posing as a cosmetic surgeon. His name? Daniel Serrano, a former Argentinian doctor who used unapproved substances, often motor oil-grade material, in high society clients' faces. Priscilla thought she was receiving safe anti-wrinkle treatments. Instead, she was being poisoned. The effects were immediate and visible. Her once delicate features appeared stiff, swollen, and uneven. Rumors exploded. Some blamed bad facelifts. Others speculated over fillers or implants gone wrong. But the truth emerged during Serrano's 2008 conviction. Priscilla had been duped. She later underwent corrective procedures, but the damage, both cosmetic and reputational, lingered. Though she continued to act and manage Elvis's estate, her public presence diminished. Casting offers slowed, and tabloid culture took cruel aim. Even her well-received role in the Naked Gun franchise was often overshadowed in retrospectives by "what happened to her face" conversations. In recent years, Presley has re-emerged with grace, supporting the Elvis biopic and appearing at Graceland events. But the scars, emotional and physical, remain a sobering reminder. Even icons can be victims, and in Hollywood, beauty isn't just a standard, it's a risk. Boy George admitted it, the surgeries that helped and hurt. Boy George has never blended in, not in the 80s, not in the 90s, and definitely not in 2025. Known for his gender-bending style, theatrical makeup, and powerful voice, the Culture Club frontman became a global icon with hits such as Karma Chameleon and Do You Really Want to Hurt Me? But as the decades rolled on, George's look, like his life, evolved, sometimes dramatically. By the mid-2010s, fans noticed his face appeared smoother, tighter, and less expressive. And unlike many of his peers, George eventually confirmed it. Yes, he'd had some cosmetic work done. And yes, some of it didn't go as planned. In interviews as early as 2017, he acknowledged getting eyelid surgery and Botox, admitting that aging in the spotlight was a trip. While he initially explored surgery for aesthetic reasons, he later expressed regret, particularly about procedures that muted his facial expressions, a significant setback for a performer known for theatricality and emotional delivery. There's a difference between freshening up and erasing who you are, he once said. Surgeons unaffiliated with him have speculated he also had cheek enhancement and laser resurfacing, though he's never confirmed those. What George has made clear is a shifting attitude. By 2023, he embraced a more natural approach, even appearing makeup-free in social media posts, something nearly unthinkable during his early career. Now 64, he continues touring, mentoring on The Voice UK, and speaking openly about self-acceptance. The surgeries may have altered the canvas, but Boy George's core message about individuality, visibility, and pride remains untouched. He didn't just survive the fame machine, he redesigned it in glitter and honesty. Pete Burns to Hunter Tylo, when surgeries made stars uncastable. Hollywood is filled with reinvention, but for stars like Pete Burns and Hunter Tylo, cosmetic surgery became a double-edged sword, offering transformation on one hand and career obstacles on the other. Pete Burns, the flamboyant frontman of Dead or Alive, was known for his shock value style and androgynous image. But by the 2000s, his face had undergone such radical changes, botched lip fillers, cheek implants, over 300 reconstructive surgeries, that casting directors didn't know what to do with him. Burns has admitted to nearly dying from an infection caused by illegal fillers and lived with chronic swelling and complications until he died in 2016. By the time he appeared on Celebrity Big Brother, he was better known for his surgeries than for his music, making roles outside reality TV nearly impossible. Hunter Tylo's case was more subtle, but equally striking. Once a daytime television icon thanks to her long run on The Bold and the Beautiful, Tylo's appearance changed dramatically in the 2000s with fuller lips, higher cheekbones, and a visibly altered jawline. Though she never confirmed the procedures, fans and industry insiders noticed. Casting slowed, and despite her acting chops, she struggled to land leading roles outside of soap operas. Some critics argued her once expressive face had become too sculpted, too fixed for emotionally complex performances. By 2025, both stories serve as sobering Hollywood parables. In a business where appearance is everything, but change is punished, Burns and Tylo prove that too much reinvention can leave even bold stars without a script. The celebrity who transitioned twice and why they're speaking out in 2025. Few stories in Hollywood are as complex and misunderstood as that of Scott Nugent. Born Kelly King, Nugent rose to prominence in the early 2020s, not as an actor or singer, but as one of the most vocal and controversial figures in the transgender rights conversation. After transitioning from female to male in midlife, Nugent underwent several gender-affirming procedures, a double mastectomy, testosterone therapy, and phalloplasty. But by 2025, Nugent is speaking out not about the success of transition, but the personal cost, complications, and the decision to begin detransitioning, making him one of the few high-profile people to have publicly transitioned twice. Nugent first appeared in mainstream media through the documentary What is a Woman?, where his raw, emotional candor drew both admiration and criticism. By 2023, he began revealing the physical toll of the surgeries, chronic infections, multiple corrective procedures, and intense scarring. But more profoundly, he spoke of emotional disillusionment, claiming he was never fully informed of the long-term risks. In 2025, Nugent is at the forefront of a growing yet still taboo conversation around medical regret in gender-affirming care. He's now involved in advocacy for stricter surgical standards, mental health assessments, and youth protections, making waves in both conservative and liberal circles. His detransition, social and medical, is ongoing, though he said he no longer feels defined by gender categories. It's not about reversing identity, he insists, but reclaiming autonomy. In an era of loud extremes, Nugent's story is messy, real, and deeply human, a rare voice speaking through the static of ideology with the raw truth of experience.
If you've watched the video till here, that means you've enjoyed the video. Subscribe. Don't forget to turn on the notifications bell icon